So let's talk about competition anxiety. This is something I commonly run into with weightlifters as they're getting ready to go and compete for the first time, and sometimes it's the 50th time they've competed and they still experience the same thing. And we do all this time preparing and training, working on technique and mastering the lift and doing all these strength training movements and squats and all this stuff to really prepare. And you know, of all sports I've ever played in my life, there's so much preparation in the sport of Olympic weightlifting for such a short, infrequent competition period. So you think about all the pressure that builds and builds and builds for one competition and one small peak you might experience yearly or bi-yearly or say even perhaps every 4 years. There is definitely a lot of pressure on the line. But as I was a younger competitor, you know, one thing, you know, I had some really bad competition anxiety, and that kind of came from a powerlifting background where, you know, I really personally was the type of person that did well, at least I thought I did well, by getting super fired up and intense and crazy pissed off, and that's how I excelled, say, in powerlifting competitions. But once I got into Olympic weightlifting, when I was still not really masterful or comfortable or confident in the Olympic lift, that really worked against me, and I had a lot of competitions where I ended up bombing out as a result because I was as fierce and fired up as possible, but it was just destroying my technique and my ability to make a proper lift. So, you know, what I finally learned and realized is I was putting so much pressure on myself with these competitions to really perform well into my hopes and ambitions. But really what I started to realize is I'm not having fun doing this, and I'm making this miserable, and I really learned to hate the competition process. But I absolutely love to train, and I can train and train and train and never ever get sick of it. So I realized, hey, just have fun and enjoy this part of the process. This is what you trained for, and it's, you know, if you can't enjoy this, then this is kind of ridiculous. So you know, when I realized to just relax, stop, have fun, breathe, I realized, hey, I can actually perform better when I'm having fun and I get into that zone. When I'm training, you know, training's a hard process, and there's days that are going to be miserable and days that are going to be fun, and you know, once you realize, hey, this is a privilege to be able to train like this and to do the sport, then you really realize, you know, you get into that flow and that zone and that state of mind that the lift just is fun again, and the training process is fun. When you can take that mindset and bring it back into a competition and just, hey, you know, to get your peak performance and your peak capability, to be really self-actualized there, it's a combination of that right amount of fear and anxiety and say aggression combined with being calm and cool and being masterful because you know you're well prepared. And that is really, to me, that hard edge of being fierce and focused is softened off by the let's have some fun factor. And when you bring the two together, it's kind of the nice yin and yang, let's say, of getting in a flow state and relaxing enough to be fierce and athletic. So I like to just tell my athletes, have fun, be an athlete, be aggressive, and just do your thing. You know, think about your general basic positions, your simple keywords you might do. Other than that, just get after the weight. You know, don't be over analytical and really paralyze yourself. We'll do a few of those things when we're warming up, as we always do in training. But as the weight starts to go up in the bar, you need to be reactive and make it subconscious. You know, you know, most people that go and actually compete have done enough repetitions and enough training to where some subconscious competence and mastery should be there, where the lift is now automatic, and you shouldn't have to think your way through the lift too much. You know, simple cues on, you know, perhaps getting your start position down, whatever common faults you might have, and then perhaps, say, finishing aggressively should really be all you really think about. And that's why your coach is there, is to remind you of the faults. You know, your job is to be an athlete and be as aggressive as possible, but not overdoing it to either extreme of being over analytical or over fierce and fired up, but just being a good athlete, having fun and being aggressive. The coach will keep you on the right beating path. A good coach, at least, will keep you cued in on your major faults and your simple faults of what you need to focus on to bring the best lift together and to really work on, say, what your most common errors are that are leading to perhaps most of your misses. So take the edge off. Remember to really have fun with the process, and no matter what happens, you know, if you don't set out these personal records or world records or the ambitions that you had in mind, it's not the end of the world. There's going to be more competitions, and you know, there's no failure if you learn from the process. So if you realize, hey, you know what, I maybe opened too heavy in the snatch today, and that was probably my only problem because I put too much pressure on that lift. Or perhaps, hey, your hips kept shooting on the snatch lift, and that's why you were missing. Or perhaps you waited too long between attempts and you got cold and stiff, and perhaps you should have took some extra warm-up attempts and back. Maybe you did a power snatch between lifts, or say a pull or something like that to keep you moving. You know, could have been timing between warm-up attempts. Your pre-competition nutrition strategy, you name it. Take notes and learn from the process, so you're constantly preparing a better performance every time you go out and do this. So every competition is just preparation for the next one, and have fun. Don't think that your first competition or even your 50th really that you're there to necessarily set world records. So really, at this point, at that point in time, this conversation shouldn't really happen, and you should know how to go through that competitive process. So early on, I highly urge you to take the pressure off, have fun, enjoy the process, go out there and try to make lifts, set PRs if you can. But at the end of the day, don't put too much pressure riding on your back, so you become miserable in the process and you connect that misery with competition. So good luck.